Happy Friday, fellow Texans. This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh my goodness, what a day. What a day. Your weekend starts in 3 hours. I'm going to cram a whole lot of news and kind of important, almost historic stuff into your head. We're going to have a lot of fun, too. We got Name That Artist coming up in the last hour for Rick Springfield tickets. But let me run through a list of the very important stuff that Mike Traina just touched on, most of it in the news break there. But there's just not enough time to get to all these stories today. Number one, the trade deal with China. Absolutely huge news. If this really is a realigning of the new world order, just to try and scare people out there. No, but the trade regime that has been, imbalanced your entire life, to open up the markets of China. And then he also mentioned in the same press conference earlier today, a deal soon coming with India, which, okay, so you're just going to open up 3 billion new potential consumers to American businesses. That's not just a win. That's a historic win. This is the kind of stuff that has the economy just booming. Like in the 90s, when we open up this whole new economy called the internet and, cell phones and all the information age really kicked off. I mean, that's why a lot of people think that we had just that straight up growing economy every year of the 90s up until the dot-com bubble busted. If we have new trade deals that open up 3 billion potential customers to all of us, we could see the same thing. So that's, if it's as good as it sounds, couple that with the trade deal from India, this is really historic stuff. That won't get a day. It won't get a holiday. We're not going to remember it 5 years from now. Hey, this is the day the China trade deal was signed. But your life will be much better nonetheless. Bad news is trade talks actually broke down with our northern neighbors up in Canada. America's hat was not coming to meet our guys in the middle. And so we've withdrawn from those talks. So what you've seen in the markets today, though, that's the next big headline, is stock markets back into record territory. In fact, they were all sniffing at records earlier today until the China news broke. They were going up this morning based on the China trade deal, going down based on the Canada pulls out headline. And so stock market's back in record territory, though. Huge news story. Why is it a huge news story? Because you remember all the headlines that happened when the stock market went down 20% back in April? If you don't get similar headlines on the way up, what does that make the news? Does that make them guys who are just telling you what's going on with the stock market, just what affects your money? No. If you only make headlines when it's bad and not when it's good, well, then you're hacks. Then you're not telling the truth. Then you're just reporting on the stock market when it's convenient in order to damage your political opponents. Pretty unethical, ugly, immoral stuff. But that is a huge story that should be getting headlines today. But, there's a lot of other stuff to talk about that's kind of burying it. There was a huge Supreme Court decision that came out today, and it's not even like the finality on the case. But SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, has said what I understand in layman's terms is not every rando judge in a robe in some court somewhere in America can stop everything Trump is doing. Now, the downstream effect of this is the case that this was hinging on, whether or not these national injunctions, these judges have the power to do these national injunctions. Well, underpinning that was a case on birthright citizenship. So what was signed into executive order by Donald Trump was trying to be stopped by some rando judge who just put on his robes at 2 a.m, swung a gavel, declared that it had been stopped, and he had a hearing. He wasn't scheduled. There wasn't a quorum or whatever all the rules are. So the Supreme Court stopped that. And in the meantime, I believe we still have to adjudicate the full case on the birthright citizenship issue. But in the meantime, that they're going to be put on hold. So that's huge. I mean, that is a society-changing legal ruling, depending on how the rest of the case plays out. Another story that's a huge headline that I know you would love to know, we just don't have time to cram it into the top of the hour news, but net migration has turned negative. Now, I don't know if it can't stay that way for long, but having net negative migration is huge. And what do I mean by that? That means more people left the country, then came into the country. We have reporter Peter St. Onage on this negative net migration.
Net migration just turned negative for the first time in 50 years as self-deportations swamp legal immigrants. By sheer coincidence, growth in blue-collar wages also just hit a 60-year record.
Oh, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Isn't that some great reporting there? I love sarcastic reporters. They are awesome. But yeah, for the first time in 50 years, more people were leaving the country. More immigrants were leaving the country than coming in. Now, a big player in that is, I didn't do it. Don't give me credit. A big player in that is the deportations, but the self-deportations far outpaced the few thousand people that the Trump administration has taken out in handcuffs. So I thought that was another headline that you would just be floored, absolutely ecstatic to hear, especially on a Friday. I want to pack in some good news so you'll be in a good mood on your way to the weekend. Coming up next, Gordon Chang will be on the James Show. He's one of America's top China hawks. He'll tell you what he knows so far about this announced trade deal with China. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, homeowners, when it's time for you to get a new roof, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to trust somebody because you haven't been running around watching roofers on TV like the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to have to take someone's word for it. And take my word for it, yeah, when it comes to Blue Ribbon Roofing, I'm James Parker here for BlueRibbonDFW.com. But what about your neighbors? What about the hundreds of five-star Google reviews about Blue Ribbon Roofing? Here's one from June 19th. So just last week. It said, I had my roof installed yesterday. It was such a great experience. The crew was here early and on the roof immediately. They got the job done with no hiccups. By the time I was leaving mid-afternoon, all traces of them being at my home were gone. I saw no debris, no nails, absolutely nothing. I'm confident that going with Blue Ribbon Roofing for my new roof was the right decision. They have gained a lifetime customer. That is from Terry here in North Texas. And if you want to have a positive roofing experience like Terry had, go to BlueRibbonDFW.com to schedule your free inspection now. I did it. It really is free. There's no hangups or hiccups or hard sales pitch at the end. Just go to BlueRibbonDFW.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Some positive news from the China front. Donald Trump announced that there's a trade deal. Oh, really? That sounds promising. Do we know some of the details? I haven't heard a whole lot yet, but my next guest can help us out with it.
A few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right?
All right, Gordon Chang, noted one of the great American China experts from the Gatestone Institute. Find him on Twitter at Gordon G. Chang. What do you know about this China bill that we don't? Dang. Well, I would certainly agree that they have, considering the imbalance, because are they going to open up their markets to our companies? That's unfortunate. Gordon G. Chang on Twitter, Gordon Chang from the Gatestone Institute with us on the James Show. So he also hinted at announcing a trade deal soon with India, and we have similar problems with India opening up their markets. Do you think a restrictive trade deal from China kind of gives India the heads up that they can get away with it too? Well, China, did they have anything that they were trying to get out of us in the trade deal? Well, we're talking with Gordon Chang, Gatestone Institute, China Hawk. When we look at China's economy, are they feeling the crunch from slow economic growth or even a contraction? Well, Gordon Chang, economics are really only half of our interest in China. I'm wondering how they are interpreting the events they've seen by us helping between Ukraine and Russia and in Gaza, and now with this strike in Iran. Do you think that's moved them further away from wanting Taiwan back or closer to wanting to retake Taiwan? Gordon Chang, do you think we'll get an announcement sometime soon? Is there some sort of like joint press conference where we're going to get the details of this deal? All right, Gordon G. Chang, I appreciate your expertise on China in the matter. Follow him on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days, at Gordon G. Chang. Thank you very much, sir. All right, coming up next on the James Show, you're going to hear audio from Trump's press conference about the SCOTUS ruling, China deal, Iran talks. He was asked about everything earlier today. You'll hear some of it next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on Newstalk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker. The next James Show listener meetup is happening this weekend, Sunday evening. I'm doing a comedy show with Alex Stein from The Blaze TV at Hyenas in Dallas. Come on out. It's on Mockingbird and 75. And we'll hang out afterwards as well. More info on social media, the website, whatever. You'll find it. But the Trump press conference today was something else. He went out and took some questions, and it's a stark contrast from the previous president, a guy who we had to beg for a long time. Hey, when are you going to have a press conference? And then when he finally did embarrass himself out of the race, which was actually by history 1 year ago today. Yeah, you didn't know that was 1 year ago today. It's the best press conference you ever saw. I mean, the presidential debate you ever saw in your entire life. Ended a campaign that day. But you remember we were talking about it on the James Show. Like, hey, dude, when are you going to have a press conference? When are you going to have a press availability where you don't have 4 pre-scripted questions from 4 hand-picked journalists where he comes in, he asks the question, he reads the answers, and leaves? When are you going to just spend some time shooting the breeze back and forth and answering all of our questions? And then when Kamala got in, same thing. Hey, when are you going to schedule a press conference? When you're going to sit around for an hour and just quickly, without filibustering and going on and telling stories and having 7-minute answers, just popping through questions like this, just being bold and transparent and facing criticism and thinking off the cuff and not just focus group, scripted, tested answers. When are we gonna get that? Oh, well, she's already committed to scheduling a press conference before the end of the next month. Oh, so within the next 60 days? Meanwhile, Donald Trump comes out and just does this whenever he wants, multiple times a week, just taking questions. He'll be on the airplane, just leaning over like the door frame. Hey, guys, got any questions for me? Like your kid peeking in when you're watching TV. Hey, what are y'all doing in here? We're watching TV. But he peeks out. Hey, you guys, got any questions? When he's about to get on the plane, he'll stand there right by the engine, so I have to get terrible audio, just answering questions. When there's a press conference, unscripted, not pre-picked answers or journalists, he's just going around, who's next? What, you? Question, go. And I think the press will never admit it, but they enjoy this much better. They can't help but like this better. And so there was a time in the press conference where, they're kind of hot and heavy and answer questions, and when he finished the question, there wasn't an immediate upswell with the next question. And I'm not saying he was wearing them out or they were getting tired. I think they were just expecting this to be over. And he was like, no, let's just keep this going. Isn't this a nice change? And man, isn't this a nice change? Listen to this part of the press conference. This was probably going to be your favorite part.
Threatened my life. Yeah, they have threatened. I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while. Get that throbbing feeling. But you know what? That's okay. This is a dangerous business. What I do is a dangerous business. I tell the story of the car companies and different people in different professions. You have race car drivers, as an example. 1/10 of 1% die. Bull riders, 1/10 of 1%. That's not a lot, but it's people die. When you're president, it's about 5%. If somebody would have told me that, maybe I wouldn't have run. Okay? This is a very dangerous profession. Yeah, please. By the way, so many questions. Should we keep this going, Pam? This is the opposite of Biden. Biden would take a half a question and he'd leave without answering it. Go ahead.
On Iran.
You tell me when it gets boring. Okay.
On Iran. If Iran.
All right, that's enough of that. This is exactly what we were asking for a year ago. A year ago, when we were walking into what was, dude, you've never seen a debate like that. You've never seen a guy just stop off in the middle of the answering a question several times, and you see his mind just oozing out of his ear and going and making itself a drink. Like he was just gone pecan for half of that interview. And it was so beautiful to watch. Let me play the extended answer or the extended audio cut on the trade deal with China. I played just the first half of it when we were talking to Gordon Chang, but this was probably the most historic, biggest impact on you that was covered during the press conference.
A few months ago, the press was saying, Do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. We have everybody. We're not going to make deals with everybody. Some we're just going to send them a letter, say, thank you very much. You're going to pay 25, 35, 45%. That's the easy way to do it. And my people don't want to do it that way. They want to do some of it, but they want to make more deals than I would do. But we're having some great deals. We have one coming up, maybe with India, very big one, where we're going to open up India. In the China deal, we're starting to open up China, things that never really could have happened.
Yeah, so I think that's huge. If you can open up China and India, that's 3 billion potential customers for American businesses. That would put us on such a gravy train going forward for at least the medium term. But coming up on the James Show, one of the things we were concerned about at the beginning of the week is with the bombings on Iran and the rest of the unease happening between, like Russia and Gaza and Iran and the United States and China and all this stuff. What's this going to do to the price of gas? Well, by the end of the week, it looks like you have the cheapest gas for the summer driving season in the last 4 years. Details coming up with RT Trevino from the Crude Truth podcast on The James Show next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. A lot of people were shaking and wringing their hands about the whole Iran situation, even going into this week thinking, well, it's going to spike the price of oil. It's going to spike the price of gas. It's going to ruin the summer driving season. It's going to grind our economy to a standstill. Well, my next guest has some good news for you. RT Trevino's back on from the Crude Truth podcast. And I just saw over here on Fox Business that the summer driving season is starting off with the lowest gas in the last 4 years. Welcome to the show, RT. Doing fantastic, enjoying this cheap gas. Yeah. We had talked about this, was it at the beginning of this week or at the end of last week that gas didn't seem to be too concerned with what was going on in Iran? Well, you want prices to go down because production's up. You don't want prices to go down because economic activity has slowed. Which one gets more credit for this downturn? We're talking with RT Trevino from the Crude Truth podcast and Pecos Country Energy. And when I think of the price of oil, isn't really looking at what's going on right now, but when it goes down and when it stays stable, I get the feeling that people who are buying oil and making these decisions thinks that we're going to have stability for the next at least 3 to 6 months. All right, RT Trevino, let's talk about what's going on in the Crude Truth podcast. Every time I ask you that question, you have a good answer. What's the latest episode? Well, we talk about expanding our production capacity. Are we expanding our refinery capacity in the United States? Yeah, I hear him talking about speeding up the permitting process, but have they actually made any changes in that direction? All right, well, good stuff. RT Trevino, the Crude Truth Podcast is where you can find his show and his day job, Pecos Country Energy. Thank you very much, sir. All right, happy Friday to you too. Coming up next, we have a group of parents and teachers and activists who are asking Dallas ISD to bar ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, to bar ICE from school property. Not just raids, just coming on the property at all. Can they do that? Is that legal? Can the government tell the other parts of the government you're not allowed on government property? That doesn't seem to play well. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'll tell you about this policy and whether or not I think it'll be implemented coming up next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. You're listening to News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome back to the big show. Good to see you. Article in the Dallas Morning News caught my attention. The headline, just as bad as it sounds. Parents, teachers ask DISD to bar ICE from any school property. Oh, all the parents and all the teachers? No, just the ones that agree with you. Okay, but you want to make it sound like it's a monolithic block where all the parents and the teachers, everyone, asking Dallas ISD to bar ICE from any school property. I bet I can get 10 parents to call in right now in Dallas ISD and say they're fine with ICE being on school property. So why don't you just say the truth? Democrat activists asked Dallas ISD to bar ICE from any school property. Isn't this a trip? Isn't this some sort of weird loophole that they want schools to be, to where the laws just don't apply? I mean, they think they can put like a sign outside the school that says no guns allowed and no one will bring a gun on school campus. Now they don't want actual law enforcement officials, other government officials on this government property to enforce the law. What is this weird wormhole that you people think schools live in? Let's dig into some of this article here because it's adorable. It says Dallas ISD officials should ban immigration enforcement officials from all school property, including parking lots, so undocumented families feel safe sending their kids to school, community members told trustees Thursday night. That's their opening line. They say the talking point of the obviously political activist here, the community members. Oh, did all the community members say it or just the ones that agree with you? See, they package this like it's already fact, like it's already everyone agrees with it, as if you would be crazy to not agree with this. This is some of the most propagandistic angling you will see on a hard news story today. Undocumented families. Oh, you mean illegal immigrant families? You mean families that are, their status here is illegal? Gotcha. Well, then they explain what's going on after this in the article. It says photos of ICE agents near two Bachman Lake neighborhood schools circulated on social media last week, prompting concerns that the federal agency is targeting Dallas schools for enforcement. Prompting concerns. Why would you be concerned? Oh my God. Did you hear that? They're enforcing the law. Can you believe law enforcement officials are enforcing the law? Who's concerned about this? Oh, people who break the law. Oh, people whose voters break the law. People who fellow political travelers break the law. And the federal agency is targeting Dallas schools for enforcement as if it's some sort of attack. Yeah, they're targeting the Dallas school. They're targeting the place where the illegal immigrants are in order to enforce immigration law. Duh. Yeah, I mean, I guess targeting, that's an interesting word choice. Interesting word choice. You target something that you're aiming at, like a gun or a bow and arrow or some sort of program. But when you're talking about illegal immigration enforcement, you're not targeting illegal immigrants. That's just the natural order of things. Hey, who are you going after? Illegal immigrants. Okay, well, can you narrow it down? No? Well, then that's not a target. That's the most broad sweep. They're targeting Dallas schools. Like they're not going to Dallas courtrooms or Dallas workplaces or other Dallas, streets and traffic stops and jails and whatever. Sounds like they're going to a lot more than just schools. But check out I love the argument against it here. They talked to a kindergarten teacher at one of the schools. She was at the meeting yesterday. She says, when ICE parks outside of our schools, it doesn't just send a message. It sends a threat. It tells our immigrant families, you're not safe here. It tells our students, even your school cannot protect you. And it tells teachers like me, people who love the district and have chosen to serve it, that even we can be next. Miss Longoria, are you here legally? No? Okay, well then you can't be next. And how is it a threat? Hey, we're going to enforce the law. Who's threatened by enforcing the law? Oh yeah, criminals. well, then they kind of deserve to be, air quotes, targeted. They kind of deserve to feel a threat when law enforcement shows up because they're just going to enforce the law. But it doesn't threaten your immigrant families. It doesn't threaten the immigrant families who are here legally. It doesn't threaten the immigrant families who came here 3 generations ago. It's just the ones that are here now illegally. Those are the only ones threatened. Is that an injustice? Absolutely not. People who break the law shouldn't, it's not unjust that they feel threatened by enforcement of the law that they're breaking. I continue with the article. Nationwide, families and educators have been on high alert since January. High alert? After President Donald Trump's administration removed long-standing federal protections that barred immigration enforcement agents from operating in or near public schools. Administration officials said the new guidance was aimed at ensuring criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. And we are all tired of that. Because the people that are making this argument against allowing ICE on Dallas ISD campuses aren't arguing in good faith. It's not like they want the immigration laws to be enforced properly. They want the deportations of people who aren't supposed to be here, just not at school. No, you don't want it anywhere. You're just trying to pull at the heartstrings of people using a sensitive subject, children at schools. Do you think ICE officials should be barred from any school property whatsoever? I don't. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up on The James Show, SMU political science professor Matthew Wilson answers if history is being made in the Middle East right now or if it's going to be just business as usual. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You know, a lot's going on right now that might end up being written down in the history books or might be glossed over for whenever the real solutions to some of these problems happen. And here to sort of deal with that in real time, coming back on the show, Dr. Matthew Wilson, SMU political science professor. Welcome back to the James Show, sir. Well, I really feel like the Iran ceasefire deal could be something that is remembered by future generations, because if we really can get them to stop being a state-sponsored funder of terror, then, you know, the Houthi rebel problem kind of dies down. You may see Hamas and Hezbollah die down in Israel. Of course, Iran itself won't be a problem. They won't be funding ISIS. I mean, I feel dumb saying this, but we could have peace in the Middle East. I don't see that resolving the issue with the Palestinians and the Israelis over that very hotly contested patch of land. All right, we're talking with Dr. Matthew Wilson, SMU political science professor. Let's talk about the deal that was announced with China. Uh, if this deal is great, then we could see the Chinese markets open up to the United States companies, and that would be great for us, not just economically, but also it's kind of hard to be adversaries when both these countries do so much business with each other. Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about that. And if we get a similar opening up of Indian markets, there's another 1.4 billion people that could be customers for American businesses. Well, Matthew Wilson, in the political science home front, I'm kind of interested in this birthright citizenship case out of the Supreme Court. How does this weigh with you? Did they make the right decision? I mean, I know the case isn't settled yet, but is it moving in the right direction, you think? Well, that it seems like it'll kind of cascade through some of the other issues, like when they try and stop some of his deportations or his tariffs or birthright citizenship. This is something that's come up a lot already in the first 5 months. Well, we also heard today, we're talking with Dr. Matthew Wilson, SMU Political Science. Trump pulled out of trade talks with Canada. Now, that sounds kind of silly because we're going to have a trade deal with Canada. They're going to be our main trading partner in some form or fashion. So, what are we doing here? Is there something that we really need to get out of Canada before we can open up trade with them? Well, we're having some of these deadlines come and due. You know, the threats to put a big tariff on the EU or have a deal with the UK. We should be getting more info on trade deals soon. So we'll probably have to have you back on every once in a while. This is Dr. Matthew Wilson, SMU political science professor. Thank you very much for being on the James Show, sir. Coming up next on the James Show, did you hear about alligator Alcatraz? It sounds kind of awesome to me, but you'll hear from some people who aren't a big fan. Coming up next, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. By now, you might have heard of Alligator Alcatraz. This is a proposed detention facility that is going to be built in the skeleton of what I believe is an old airport, an unused airport. And it wouldn't take much to convert the big buildings and put some cells in them and have it be a detention facility for ICE, with the advantage of it's surrounded on all sides by a pretty inhospitable swamp. So I always love the idea of putting prisons somewhere that's not just hard to not easily accessible, but also harder to break out of because of the location. Like the original Alcatraz. What a great place for a prison. It's on a rocky island in a very cold bay outside of San Francisco, very rocky bay, makes it harder to escape. And this is sort of the same thing. You have a detention facility that's going to be surrounded on all sides by the Everglades, the Florida swamps, which are not very hospitable, especially to people without tools and implements. And some people are freaking out about it. I think it sounds great. But here's a good example. Viral video I saw this morning. I thought you'd get a kick out of this. Some lady doesn't like it.
I need somebody to tell me that I'd not just walk upstairs and see a clip on the news talking about Alligator Alcatraz, a prison camp that they're building in the Everglades in Florida to throw immigrants into. Truly, what the is happening when they're in the middle of construction of a prison camp in the Everglades to throw immigrants into, which by the looks of it, of what I saw on the screen, looked just like several rows of cargo shipping containers. They're building a ton of shipping containers that they're going to throw human beings into because they're immigrants. If that wasn't already horrifying enough to throw human beings into containers, Florida had to Florida and be like, you know what, I'll do you one better. Not only are we going to make this disgusting prison camp, but we're going to put it right in the Everglades next to all the gators and joyfully refer to it as Alligator Alcatraz. No, absolutely not. Just make it stop. Make it stop!
I love that idea. What's her problem? Can you believe illegal immigrants are going to be in shipping containers? Because they haven't been in the shipping containers since they came over here illegally, right? Like, you haven't kind of associated shipping containers with illegal immigrants already, lady? That's it's probably nicer than where they came from, than where they live, where they come from. It's easy for us to forget, myself included, that if you go like one country south of us, 2 countries south of us, 3 countries, 4 or 5, all the way down to the South Pole, basically, there's a section of their population that lives in such poverty, you and I have never seen it. They have dirt floor huts with palm fronds for the roof, not to be kitschy or so it'll match the cabana. It's because that's how they live. So yeah, shipping container, middle of the Florida Everglades. I don't understand the problem. Where do you want the facility to be? You want it to be next to your house? How about next to an elementary school? How about we just put them in the Ritz-Carlton? Is there a better place to build a prison than on a plot of land that's surrounded by swamps in every direction? You know, what's with this mindset that there's no facility that's good enough for these people? They gripe about the kids being in cages over here in Texas. They gripe about the Delaney Hall facility in New Jersey. You know, the Congresswoman's got to assault an ICE security guard. They're so concerned about that. They go visit the one in Tacoma. They go all the way to the one in El Salvador just to make sure everything's okay and they're not being mistreated. But what's with this mindset? People who break our laws don't deserve to be imprisoned or even detained. But when you put all these stories together, like I was just talking about, they don't want ICE agents to be able to go on school property here in Dallas ISD. So let me get this straight. You don't want ICE to be able to pick up illegal immigrants at schools or at hospitals or at churches or when they're going to court. And then once we do have them, if we just somehow accidentally have them fall into our custody, you don't want us to put them anywhere either. Sounds like you just don't want to enforce our immigration laws. Sounds like you're just against deporting illegal immigrants, and you're preying on people's delicate sensibilities because there's enough useful idiots like this lady. Can you believe it? They're building this in the Everglades? Yeah, I can believe they're building. They have an unused rectangle of land that's surrounded by swamp with a bunch of empty buildings. Sounds perfect. What do you want to build them a whole new one from scratch on some prime real estate in the middle of a major metropolitan area? No, not only am I not shocked by this, I think this is a damn good idea, and I think this is just common sense. But here we have some lady acting like this is just beyond the pale. Are you bothered by alligator Alcatraz? Because it sounds awesome to me. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, another viral video where someone's pretending to be just floored about some immigration common sense. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Happy Friday. Some people are losing their mind over alligator Alcatraz. Oh no, they're building a detention facility in the Florida Everglades. Are you people just going to say everything this guy does is a travesty against humanity? Or do you have any legit arguments that you'd like to try one day just on one of these issues? Alligator Alcatraz doesn't bother me a bit. Seems like a pretty smart thing to do. You have an unused piece of real estate out in the Florida Everglades with some buildings on it that could be easily, cheaply converted, saves the taxpayers some money. You don't have to go crazy building a fence around the place, and you can save a couple bucks there. Just everything this guy does is just the worst ever. Like, you're going to cry over this? Terry and Allen, you're on WBAP.
Yes, James. The problem is that these people don't believe that the illegal aliens have done anything wrong. They believe they're just undocumented and that they have been unfortunate, and that we should take care of them and provide them with nice free housing, free clothing, free food, and everything.
Yeah, I'd like it if it was free, but actually me and you have to pay for that. So, it's
right.
Yeah, so they use the term free, but that's what I hear every time they say free. Another thing we got to pay for, Terry.
Right. And they feel that if they don't believe in a law, they don't agree with the law, then that a law does not have to be observed. They can ignore it.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of their worldview too. Yeah, like adherence to the law is really subjective in their point of view, which is interesting for the people who are worried about, fascism or autocracy, or we don't live under kings. Well, you don't live by the rule of law either. Also, when the Americans came here, and it was the natives that were here before us, we came here illegally, and they all agree with you. This is not your land. This is stolen land. You didn't deserve to be here. You didn't legally immigrate here. And what happened to the Indians? How'd that work out for them? Not so good, right? So wouldn't you say we should prevent the same thing happening to us?
Right. But it can happen if we don't watch out.
No kidding, because I think the lesson here is, it starts out as illegal immigrants. The history books will know them as colonizers once they outnumber the native population and petition the mother country for annexation. How do we know? That's how we got America. That's how we got Texas. That's how we got California. We just don't want it to happen to us. Bill in Plano, your thoughts on alligator Alcatraz. Go.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's fabulous. I think that, first of all, the complaint was, well, they don't have hearings. They need due process hearings. Okay, we'll incarcerate them. Well, we'll put them in a place that's already been used to some extent. We're going to save money on walls and fencing. We're going to save money on guards. And if they want to try the alligators and the boa constrictors, let them have at it. But I don't think it's going to be a good result for them. They're not going to like what happens.
Well, do you think that it's the name that's scaring these people?
I think the name is great. I don't know. I mean, there was nothing wrong with Alcatraz to begin with. It was a good idea. The first Alcatraz was a good idea. Put it out where the prisoners are going to have to swim, and they can't. I mean, that's the idea of incarceration, is that people need to stay incarcerated. And if they don't want to be incarcerated, they want to take their chances with the alligators and the boa constrictors, have at it.
Well, also, where can we put them? Where have we put them that's not a complaint? Because they complained at the facilities we had here in Texas on the border. Oh, you got kids in cages now. They complain if it's a facility like that. They complain if it's a shipping container or a former airport that's being converted. If it's in Alcatraz, if it's in Texas. Sounds like they just don't want these people detained, period.
The problem with that is that they're not looking at the victims. All these poor women that have been raped and murdered and killed, and all the victims of these criminals that they've let go. That's what's important. Protect our American citizens. And if they have to be in a place where isn't super comfortable, and they're not put up in a 5-star Hilton hotel, too bad.
Totally agree, but a lot of people don't agree with this, Bill. They just get upset, and did you hear how upset she is about this? At the very end, she's like, hold it together. Here, last 10 seconds.
Right in the Everglades, next to all the gators, and joyfully refer to it as alligator Alcatraz. No, absolutely not. Just make it stop. Make it stop.
It sounds to me like that's an offshoot of Trump derangement syndrome. And
It
really,
is.
She needs therapy. The poor lady is really out of her mind.
And I hope she gets the help that she needs. I appreciate you being so empathetic in this time. Thank you very much. That's Bill in Plano. Another viral video. This is something I see online, but I don't see in the real life. You see these guys saying, listen, man, I'm a Trump voter. I'm totally MAGA. I'm the biggest Republican there is, but I so regret voting for Trump because of XYZ. No, you don't. No, you don't. People have called in and tried that, and they're all fake callers. Here's another one. I've seen a lot of these videos online, and I know a lot of people who voted for Trump in real life. No one has said this to me in real life, and I'd be the first person they say it to.
I was a Trump supporter. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. I have a construction company, and not a thing is getting done. This is what I get. This is what I get. Nothing but white boys. It takes 4 days to do a one-day job. I might have up.
Yeah. Oh, I so regret voting for Trump. Just like all you other construction working, blue collar, rural guys out there. How do you do, fellow youths? Do you believe that? Do you believe that's real? Effing white boys. That's not how Trump supporters talk. That's how woke political activists, soy boys talk. I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe you. I don't think it would take a crew of someone based on the color of their skin 4 times longer than these other crew based solely on the color of their skin. In fact, making such an assertion sounds like it fits pretty well the definition of racism. You know, some group of people, you can determine if they're better or worse based solely on the color of their skin. I noticed you didn't have any negative words about some of our black citizens, legal American citizens, or of other colors. No, just the white ones, huh? That's interesting. What a coincidence. This is Chris in Dallas. You're on WBAP.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, I got a comment for you guys. I'm a 3-time convicted felon. I did 2 state, 1 fed, did my time, been out 15 years. I've worked my butt off to become a productive member of society and to be a general manager of a forklift company.
Cool.
And I have worked and worked and worked for the last 15 years. I don't get a right to vote. I'm a third-class citizen. I'm below the illegals. And it blows my mind how the general population of this country can pick and choose what laws they want to follow. If we're a law-abiding society, I did my time. I did my crime. I was wrong. I did what I needed to do to get it right. Now these people come into this country. If I leave my country and come back up under the border, I get a free house, free education, and free everything, and my rights back. It blows my mind. If we are going to pick the laws that we want to choose to follow, where do I go sign up to get the 4 years of my life back that I spent incarcerated? That's what I want to know.
Man, I love that perspective. So is there a state in which you're not allowed to vote because of your felon status, but illegal immigrants are?
I'm not allowed to vote nationally. I'm a federal convict. I have no voting rights, period.
Right. But is there a jurisdiction you can go in where illegals can vote and you can't? I think, doesn't New York City allow illegals to vote?
Oh, New York allows the illegals to vote. They allow illegals to vote here.
Wow.
I'm in Dallas County. They let people vote here.
That is a brutal perspective, Chris. More people need to hear it.
Biggest slap in the face that I get to get taxed at 47% to pay for somebody that's here illegally.
Right. Well, Chris, when you were in prison, any of your times, did a congressional delegation come and visit you and make sure you got your full complement of due process rights?
Nobody ever came and saw me for anything. I did time in the federal prison system with guys that were on ICE detainers that would tell you to their face this is the best they've ever had it. The second they get out, they're coming right back to the States.
Well, that's
They'll
a great
tell
call.
you that to your face.
That is a great call.
I worked for the prison industries in the Federal Bureau of Prisons under in Bastrop, Texas, building Border Patrol vehicles for 33 cents an hour. And the 90% of the staff that was there were illegal immigrants, housed by the federal government, managed by the federal government in a Unicor plant, making Border Patrol vehicles. And they would tell you to your face, This is the greatest I've ever lived. As soon as I get out of here and they deport me, I'm coming right back.
Well, I'm glad we all got to hear your story, Chris in Dallas. That's pretty powerful stuff. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Alex Stein. Primetime Alex Stein. He's going to help me dunk on the media for getting so many stories wrong all week. They couldn't stop be clowning themselves, and we're going to have a little fun with it next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. This has been a fun week to watch the media and just to go revisit what they were saying just a few days ago. One guy who I know loves dunking on the media just as much as me. It's the great prime time Alex Stein from The Blaze and your social media feed when he does the viral videos of agitating city councils. Welcome back to the James Show, Alex. No, not going to do, certainly not going to do that. I'm kind of on equal footing. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole here, so everyone tells both me and Garrett what to do, and we don't really tell anybody else what to do. We're kind of over here riding the bench. Yeah, we're not on the starters. Is the morning show on? They're the cool kids that have a little bit of weight to swing around. But me and Garrett are just trying to keep our head down and keep our jobs. Well, I can pretend to be mad at Garrett. Yeah, Garrett, how dare you have how dare you have a loving family? Because Garrett is one of the crazy people that has like a loving family that does things together and that they like spend time, like quality time on the weekends and sometimes even during the week. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. A loving family. What a cheat code. Okay, well, Alex, yeah, I know you saw your dad last week. You have a very tight family and it's kind of cute. Oh yeah, I saw your dad last week. That's right. So the media at the beginning of the week was saying, "Hey, that bombing attack on Iran, that didn't even do anything. We have this leaked intel from the intelligence agencies. Yeah, the same people that told you Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Yeah, those guys. That it didn't get anything done. And then by the time the week's over, they can't stand on that anymore." Right. I mean, I can name Tehran, but can I name two? Not really. Not unless. I'm so glad you brought that up. I have said that on James shows in the past, and I feel like no one believes me because I've done the man on the street audio where you just go interview random people and like on Main Street in Deep Ellum on a Saturday. And yeah, I've asked people who the vice president is, and it's less than half the people actually get that down, get it correct. Now, the other part where I thought the media was kind of be clowning itself is Pete Hegseth kind of got a talking to by a reporter. It's like, you are demeaning and dehumanizing the women who were on that mission when you referred to it as a good job by our boys. So they were trying to turn a successful bombing into some sort of anti-women angle. All right, Alex Stein from the Blaze. What was your take on the daddy comments when the Secretary General of NATO was talking about, in references to Trump's strikes? Sometimes daddy has to, say some tough words or give some. I forgot what the full context was, but then they got asked 3 different questions in subsequent press conferences about this offhanded comment about daddy, and it's just so hard to take these people serious. The last thing I want to run by you here, Alex Stein, Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett. She's real upset that due process isn't being followed. She's real upset that she's not being consulted on some of these very important war decisions. But then she doesn't really stop there. She just kind of keeps going and be clowning herself even further. But Alex, she is the head. Right now, she's in first place on who I think would be the next Democrat presidential nominee. Am I crazy for that? I am. Well, I also like the statement she was making this week, questioning the legitimacy of Melania Trump's immigration status because she came over here on an Einstein visa. And I was, you know what, stick with that. Melania Trump, you think this immigrant doesn't deserve to be in America, but Abrego Garcia does. I'll just keep making that point for me. All right, check out his show online or at Blaze Media. Alex, out of time, got to run. Thank you very much, Alex Stein. Coming up next on the James Show, we are playing Name That Artist. I've got to give away tickets to see Rick Springfield, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Today's history. This should be remembered every year until everyone that witnessed it passed away. And this won't be in the history books probably, but it should. If we go back in the time machine, exactly 365 days. It was on this day, June 27th, 2024. The one and only presidential debate was had between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It was on this day on the James Show where I was emailing out bingo cards for everyone to go enjoy. I went and watched the debate with Miss Parker and some friends. Hi, Miss Parker. We actually went to a bar to watch this because we knew it would be amazing. And it was more glorious than we had even dreamed. This guy did so bad. It's the only time in your entire life a presidential campaign, a presidential candidate lost his place on the ticket because he did so damn bad in a debate. You've never seen anyone kicked off the ticket after the primaries like that, have you? Oh, man. And it was so delicious. If you could just remember the context we were coming into, because there was his last little State of the Union that he gave in February. That was pretty much the last time this guy was seen in public for any long period of time until the debate. You and I knew this guy just deteriorated. He was already too bad to run in 2020. And so he was 4 years beyond the pale. But you were being told in that little gap of time where it was obvious to anyone who was being honest with themselves that this guy had mashed potato for brains. But you were being told he's the sharpest guy ever. Biden, sharp as a tack. This version of Biden is the best Biden. You remember all that. And that context only made it so much better. The fact that he fell on his face.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Yeah. That was the week of the debate. And F you if you can't handle it. Oh, F me. It's been a year. How do you feel about that now? So coming up after Name That Artist, I'm going to play a couple of the beautiful audio highlights from that debate and the immediate aftermath. And we're just going to get a good belly laugh as we go into the weekend. But next, we got to play Name That Artist. Now, Name That Artist is a game show on the James Show, if you're new, where I play a montage of 10 songs, and you have to name not the song names, but the artist of all 10 of those songs. Today, we're playing for tickets to see the great Rick Springfield. It's the I Want My 80s tour. It's going to be at Music Hall at Fair Park, July 20th. Special guests John Waite, Wang Chung, and Paul Young. For the rest of us, get tickets and information at livenation.com. But you can call in to win a pair of tickets. I'm going to go ahead and play the montage now. If you know all these artists, call in, get on hold, and then I'll play the montage again on the other side of the break, and you can write down all the artists real quick. So when I go to you during the game, you read them off really quick so it only takes like 10 seconds and not a whole minute. All right. Do you know these 10 artists?
I feel like this is the beginning. This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue. I'm making records, my fans, they can't wait. They write me letters, tell me I'm great. I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time. Whenever I'm with him, something inside. Got on board a westbound 747. When I think about you, I think about love. My sweet Lord, my Lord. I met a young woman, she took my heart away. When I'm with you, it doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. I'm with you, that's all that matters.
Do you know these 10 artists? Go ahead and call in right now. 800-288-9227. You'll get 2 tickets to see Rick Springfield next month at the Music Hall at Fair Park. 800-288-9227. Get on hold. I'll play the montage again next, and you'll hear the excellent conclusion of today's edition of Name That Artist after the break. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're just in time for Name That Artist. Well, it's too late for you to call in and try and win the tickets to see Rick Springfield. But for you guys on hold, I'm about to play the montage again. Get out a piece of paper or a notepad file on your phone and write down all 10 of these artists. So when I go to you, when I say Barbara in Dallas, you can just read off all 10 artists, lickety-split. None of this, I think I heard Michael Jackson or something like that. For the rest of you just playing along in your car, just see if in your head you can name these 10 artists.
I feel like this is the beginning. This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue. I'm making records, my fans, they can't wait. They write me letters, tell me I'm great. I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time. Whenever I'm with him, something inside. Got on board a westbound 747, baby. When I think about you, I think about love. My sweet Lord. I'm with you. It doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. I'm with you, that's all that matters.
All right, that is our montage. Did you get all 10 of those artists? You're about to find out if your guesses were correct or not, and we are going to start with the aforementioned Barbara in Dallas. You're first up on Name That Artist. You got your list out? You ready to go?
I do.
Okay, well, let's hear it. Go.
Okay. Do they have to be in order?
I prefer they be in order.
Uh,
Let's see what you got. We'll work with it.
Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay, so we're going out of order?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Miller. Bad Company. Joe Walsh. The Cars. George Harrison. Electric Light Orchestra. Electric. What?
Hang on, Barbara. LaVonda Arlington, you're next up. You got your list ready?
Yes, I think she got all of them except for when was Linda Ronstadt?
There's another one.
Shit. I'm sorry.
Dump it. Well, since someone said a bad word, I think we have to give it to Barbara because I can't trust you people on the phone anymore. LaVonda, shame on you. Barbara, you're a big winner. Please don't say any cuss words. But let's go through the list here. Just because when we have to dump, we're out of space to dump. So if anyone else cusses, I'd be screwed. So we'll just give it to you. Here's the list, though, Barbara. It is Stevie Wonder, Steve Miller, Joe Walsh, The Cars, Linda Ronstadt, Albert Hammond. That's the one no one got. Bad Company, George Harrison, Bachman Turner Overdrive, which
God.
You thought was ELO. Yeah. And the last one was Chicago. Hey, don't feel bad. You did better than I did. I only got 5 out of this one. So you definitely deserve the ticket. So congratulations, Barbara in Dallas. She just won a pair of tickets to see Rick Springfield at the I Want My 80s tour. It's coming to Music Hall at Fair Park on July 20th. Special guests John Waite, Wang Chung, and Paul Young. Tickets and information, livenation.com. Thank you for everyone else who waited on hold. I'm sorry, LaVonda had a potty mouth. Ended the show early for us, but whatever. We'll do better next week. They can't all be perfect. Coming up next, we're going to go back down the memory hole for the number one, your favorite presidential debate of your entire life. It happened 1 year ago today. The debate where Joe Biden did so bad he got kicked off the ticket. You've never seen anyone get kicked off the ticket before, have you? Wasn't that amazing? But before we go to a break, I'm going to leave you with a piece of advice from this homeless guy.
Hello, I'm here to remind you that the only thing keeping you from achieving all your dreams and having all of the things that you've ever wanted is probably money. That's it, just lots of money. So if you could just get lots of money, you could probably have all that stuff that you wanted. Okay, just go get a bunch of money somewhere. Okay, think about that for a while. Have a super freaking awesome day and stuff. Or you could just decide to be happy anyway and don't need all that stuff, and then the money's not all that important, but you know. Otherwise, okay, bye.
Coming up, it's the 1-year anniversary of the best presidential debate of your life. We'll relive some of the magic in 4 minutes on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. It was exactly 1 year ago today. History was made, and oh my God, it was so fantastic, especially as a talk radio host. I had never seen anyone get kicked off the top of the ticket like that. You had never seen anyone get kicked off the ticket like that. You had never seen someone do so bad in a debate. They took the guy who was already their candidate and said, I don't think you're going to be our candidate anymore. You had never seen someone just randomly installed as the candidate after the entire primary process. You know, all the primaries and caucuses were done. They just said, we're going to let Kamala do it. Oh, you're going to have another vote on it or a national referendum? You're going to do a Facebook poll? Anything? Nope. Just gave her this candidate. This is who you're going to vote for. And all the sheep lined up and said, yes, sir, this is who I'll vote for. This installed candidate. Why do we need to vote for her? To protect democracy. That does not make any damn sense. Nothing has made sense since this debate. And we all know what the killer part was. There were two parts. The one where he said, we beat Medicare. And then the other one where I don't know what he said. Trump doesn't know what he said. Biden probably doesn't know what he said either.
Move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
I think that was the moment it was over. Because that was pretty deep into the debate. And I really thought this would be funny. I really thought me and Miss Parker were going to watch this and we were going to have a good time. But we actually started feeling sorry for the guy. Like about halfway through the debate, we're like, can we just turn this off? Can we just tell him it's done? Tell him that there's nothing he can do to save himself from here on out. And then he did I don't know what he said. He doesn't know what he said either. It was so bad. It felt sort of like elder abuse. But look, I saw that. You saw that. They didn't know to change the narrative until a day or two later. They were still waiting to see the reaction from not just pundits, but people on social media, their average voter, if they could get some polling done real quick. So there's a super narrow window of history that is just amazing. In that first 24 hours after the debate, you still had people who were on the narrative script. You still had people who saw what you saw and were still saying, he's sharp as a tack. He's good to go. I hope we never forget how hard they lied to us leading up to that debate. And then how hard they lied to you immediately after that debate. Because Jake Tapper, right after the debate, he and Dana Bash, they had moderated the thing. They turned around, they gave some commentary on CNN. And what was Jake Tapper and Dana Bash's first takeaway? How bad Trump did. They were fact-checking Trump, saying it's over for him. This is the worst debate performance they've ever seen. And they were talking about Trump. And that's super important because it was just last month, Jake Tapper released a book saying, can you believe they lied to you about Biden's mental condition? Who would do such a thing? That was you, sir. Here it is. This was right after they walked off stage, played some commercials. They turned their chairs around. This was the takeaway. Jake Tapper, Dana Bash on CNN.
That was the worst debate I have ever seen. In fact, it wasn't even a debate. It was a disgrace. Primarily because of President Trump lying, maliciously attacking the son of the vice president.
You just took the words out of my mouth. You used some high-minded language. I'm just going to say it like it is. That was a show.
Yeah, that was a poop show, to be nicer. But you would think he's talking about Joe Biden if I don't set up the context. You would think he's saying, oh, that's the worst debate performance I've ever seen. Joe Biden just did so bad he got kicked off the ticket. It literally is the worst debate performance he had ever seen, but it was Biden that did it. And his takeaway was Trump. And now he's selling a book saying, can you believe these people were covering up for Joe Biden this whole time? You were. In fact, it was the next day on Bill Maher's show, which they tape earlier in the day. So Chris Matthews, one of the guests on the Bill Maher show, hadn't got the memo yet. We're throwing Joe Biden out of the canoe. We're making him walk the plank. The next day, Chris Matthews still defending this guy on the Bill Maher show.
Now, I don't want to show a lot of the tape from last night because it's too hard to look at. But just show this one thing. We picked out one thing. Just for people who don't watch, and they watch this show to catch up on the news, this is what the Republicans are going to show from now until Election Day.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
See that head?
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Oh, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
You see the head, the way he turned that head? He wanted to. He knew the two-shot would be up there. He wanted to have his head turning like, let's watch the guy show how crazy he is. He's looking for it. Look, this election.
You're blaming that on Trump?
No, I'm watching his theatrical ability. He is playing this.
Okay, but he didn't have to do anything. I mean, he came out. It reminded me of when Mike Tyson used to knock guys out in 90 seconds. Like, that was like 2 minutes into the debate, and I went, oh, this election is over. I mean, that was like a haymaker, right?
Look, I'm watching the guy. He is so fast on the trigger. I watched him. He comes up with, well, he pulled out of Afghanistan in a disastrous way. That's true. He didn't fire anybody. He didn't fire Jake Tapper or any of the generals.
He's still defending. He was still defending Joe Biden the next day, not admitting he was crazy. Even when Bill Maher's saying it's so bad it's hard to even watch. See, Bill Maher, not a hack. Chris Matthews, hack. Jake Tapper, hack. Dana Bash, hack. We got to learn who all the hacks are. Whoever watched that video and still was saying nice things about Joe Biden, not calling for him to get out, we know who the hacks are. What a great debate. You had never seen anything that fantastic. I knew, you knew, we knew before the debate. In fact, before I even saw the debate happen, I went and pulled clips from Mr. Magoo so I could do the fun bit the next day, and say, hey, I got some clips from the debate here. Here's Joe Biden, clip 1.
Now for the Magoo survival plan. First, build a shelter against the elements. Oh, Jehoshaphat, what luck. Battered Hulk that can salvage enough material to build a primitive hut.
Yeah, so that's what I was expecting to come out of the debate. It did in an even greater fashion than I anticipated. If you were caught off guard by this, either you were wildly uninformed, like you hadn't been paying enough attention to know whether the guy had mashed potato for brains, or you're just really slow on the uptake. I have a hard time believing any honest person was looking at Joe Biden with the full complement of information and exposure and not saying he had mashed potato for brains. But that ended it all. We had never seen that. We had never seen them swap out candidates at the last minute like that. We've never seen a 107-day presidential campaign. We've never seen a major presidential party or a party put up a presidential candidate that no one voted for after the primary system. Just installed her. This is who you're voting for. Like when they installed Hillary Clinton in 2016, they at least had some votes for it. They at least had her in the primary system getting votes and whatnot. And even though Bernie Sanders got more votes, they got her in with the superdelegates. At least they went through with the formality of pretending like their voting constituency had some sort of say-so in picking the candidates. This time they didn't even do the kabuki theater. They just told them who they were going to vote for, and they did it. God, that was amazing. It's weird because Fox was mentioning it earlier. I didn't see anyone mention it on CNN or MSNBC today. Huh. That's so weird. All right, go out. Have a fun weekend. If you need some more James Show action in the meantime, go check out my podcast. Go to WBAP.com or the WBAP app. Stick around. Coming up next, the great one, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker. You're listening to News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. It's